Welcome back, Dragon Slayers. Ross Weiss turned to Noah, her voice soft but firm. She told her that they were ready to leave and would pick her up the following weekend. She reminded her daughter to take care of herself. Noah nodded in response, assuring her mother that she would. Moon, hugging Noah tightly, whispered that she wanted to be with her sister. Noah, smiling gently, told her that she would miss her too. Leon, ever the practical one, added his own reminders. He told Noah to eat on time, not to be picky with her food, to study hard, and if anything confused her, she could always ask him when she came home during the holidays. Most importantly, he emphasized, if she felt unwell, she should go to the academy doctor and not be stubborn about it. Noah, half annoyed, half amused, assured him that she knew all that already and wasn't a child anymore. Leon grinned and pointed his thumb toward Ross Weiss, teasing, those are actually her mother's words when she was drunk. She was too embarrassed to say them herself, so he's just doing it for her. Ross Weiss, folding her arms and wearing a straight face, denied it, calling Leon's statement nonsense. Leon, not missing a beat, turned serious. He warned Noah that if she met classmates with bad personalities, she should stay away from them. But if anyone dared to bully her, she had his full support to fight back. Noah raised an eyebrow and asked if he had ever done that when he was in school. With a playful wink, Leon nodded. Every time he got into a fight at school, his teacher, who, by the way, was her grandfather, would bring him home and give him a good beating. Leon reassured Noah that there was no need to worry. He would never punish her for something so small. Moon, clinging to her father's legs, listened to the exchange between them. Noah smiled, agreeing with Leon's words. She'll remember, Dad. Within the study room of the Silver Dragon Castle, Ross Weiss sat in quiet contemplation, her attention focused on an ancient tome. The book detailed a forbidden magic known as the Blood Curse, a spell that could only be cast once in a lifetime. It demanded blood as its medium and exacted the caster's life as payment for its devastating power. As Ross Weiss read, a smirk played on her lips. The concept intrigued her, and she mused that, with refinement, it might become a fascinating tool for her own purposes. The silence of the room was disrupted by the subtle movement of a shadow slipping inside. Without looking up, Ross Weiss acknowledged the presence and inquired about the person's return. The figure was Shirley, her trusted maid and a member of the Silver Dragon clan. She confirmed her arrival and approached with a report. Ross Weiss inquired about the progress of the investigation, and Shirley regretfully admitted that there had been no success. Tiger Lawrence and his wife had vanished without a trace within the Empire. Their disappearance was marked by a meticulous erasure of information, leaving her subordinates unable to uncover any leads. This revelation drew Ross Weiss's attention. She questioned what Shirley meant by missing, and Shirley elaborated that all traces of the couple had been wiped clean, suggesting the work of someone highly skilled. Reflecting on Leon's earlier description of his master as a simple old farmer, Ross Weiss recognized the inconsistency. She concluded that there was far more to this man than met the eye. Before dismissing her maid, she instructed Shirley to prioritize her safety while continuing the investigation and to notify her immediately of any developments. Shirley acknowledged the command with unwavering loyalty. The scene shifts to the Silver Dragon Castle garden, where Leon is seen swinging a branch with all his strength, channeling his full power into each motion. After demonstrating, he turns his attention to Moon and instructs her to come over and swing the stick down hard, just as he had done. Moon, filled with enthusiasm, eagerly agrees to her father's request. She grabs the stick and begins swinging it aimlessly, her movements lacking coordination or focus. Leon watches her for a moment, uncertain how to respond to her wild efforts. Deciding to intervene, he steps forward and begins teaching Moon the proper way to hold the stick. He carefully adjusts her grip, demonstrates how to swing correctly, and even guides her into the right posture. As Leon continues his lesson, Ross Weiss appears in the garden. Upon seeing her, Moon's expression brightens, and she cheerfully acknowledges her mother's presence. Leon, noticing Ross Weiss as well, remarks on her return from her rounds. Ross Weiss does not respond with words, instead offering only a smirking smile as her gaze meets Leon's. Moon runs to Ross Weiss and clings to her, wrapping her arms around her mother in a tight hug. Ross Weiss gently pats her daughter's head and asks if she had listened to her father today. Moon eagerly confirms that she has been obedient, proudly stating that her father even taught her how to hold a sword. Ross Weiss responds with a warm, affectionate smile and acknowledges that it isn't bad. She then informs Moon that dinner will be ready soon, mentioning that she had requested the chef to prepare steak. She instructs Moon to go and change her clothes before dinner. The mention of steak causes Moon's eyes to sparkle with excitement. She exclaims her love for steak and skips away joyfully, singing a song about steak as she leaves. Anna, who had been nearby, follows her little highness and guides her toward the castle. Leon and Ross Weiss stand together, watching Moon until she disappears from view. As the moment passes, Ross Weiss turns to Leon, about to speak, but before she can say anything, Leon swings the wooden stick at her with sudden speed. The motion takes Ross Weiss completely by surprise. She is caught off guard, freezing as the stick comes to an abrupt halt just near her throat. Ross Weiss, with a cold expression and a smirking smile, questions Leon's intentions, asking if he has finally decided to attack her. She states that in the Silver Dragon Castle, pointing a weapon at her is an act of treason punishable by death. Leon, hearing her words, calmly responds, pointing out that it is merely a branch and questioning if the queen truly considers a branch a weapon. Ross Weiss, unfazed, reminds him of his past as the strongest dragon slayer, emphasizing that even a branch in his hands could be used as a lethal weapon. She ends her statement by asking if she is wrong in her assumption. To her pointed remarks, Leon doesn't respond directly. Instead, he sighs and withdraws the branch. Leaning closer to Ross Weiss, he remarks that if she wanted to praise someone, she should do so properly, and questions why she chooses to be so sarcastic. Ross Weiss, folding her arms, retorts that she hasn't praised him at all. Leon walks toward a nearby bench, placing his hands behind his head as he moves. He mentions that he wanted to scare her, but admits it would be pointless if she wasn't afraid. Ross Weiss, watching him, calmly counters, stating that she doesn't believe he could harm her with a twig in his current state. Shifting the conversation, Ross Weiss mentions that Noah had written to her the previous day, saying she was doing fine and asking them not to worry. As Ross Weiss and Leon sit on the bench, Leon looks at her in surprise and asks if that was all Noah had written. Ross Weiss denies this, explaining that it was rare for Noah to take the initiative to write back, but she had done so to reassure them of her safety. Leon agrees, commenting that in this regard, Noah is very similar to Ross Weiss. Looking at the sky, Leon reflects on Noah's nature. He mentions that she always maintains a stern demeanor, making it difficult to discern her thoughts. However, he adds that if one finds the right approach, it is still very pleasant to get along with her. Ross Weiss, also gazing at the sky, remarks that Noah actually admires Leon. She explains that Noah has a typical dragon mentality, she admires strength and is drawn to the powerful. Turning her gaze to Leon with a faint smile, Ross Weiss continues, saying that in Noah's eyes, he has become a top student, someone to look up to. She even mentioned that she would win many first places at the academy because she never wants to lose to him. Leon, slightly embarrassed, responds with an awkward smile, commenting that he thought Noah considered him just a weak nerd. Ross Weiss, removing her heels, shifts the conversation and brings up the time when Leon first woke up. She recalls how Noah avoided him and asks if she was right about that. Without waiting for an answer, she reveals that despite her behavior, Noah would often visit him while he was in a coma. Occasionally, when caught, she would make an excuse to come to see Moon. Leon, smiling faintly, remarks that Noah's tough side is very much like Ross Weiss. Ross Weiss, now looking upward, recalls their childhood. She shares how, as little ones, Noah and Moon would cry inconsolably, but the moment they were placed next to Leon, they would instantly calm down. She reflects that perhaps, even before anyone realized it, the bond of blood had already tied them together. Leon lowers his gaze, looking at his hands with a tinge of sadness in his expression. Quietly, he murmurs about the strangeness of blood relationships. His thoughts drift to his past. He remembers his childhood as an orphan, a time when he never experienced the love of parents. Family affection was an unknown concept to him. It wasn't until he was 5 years old that his master and his wife adopted him. Though they weren't connected by blood, they treated him as their own son, introducing him to the concept of home for the first time. Yet, even amidst this warmth, he occasionally felt a sense of loss, a quiet void lingering in his heart. Leon, sitting in silence, reflects on his past with a sad expression, longing for a time when his master and his wife had been his real parents. His mother, sensing his sorrow, gently pats his head and reassures him, telling him that one day he will become a father to someone else. Leon, unsure and with a hint of doubt, asks if he will truly become a father. His mother smiles warmly and confirms, saying that his future children will be his blood, the family members he will love, protect, and give everything for. Pulled back to the present, Leon clenches his fist, the thoughts his mother shared ringing in his mind. He affirms to himself that they are indeed his most cherished family members now. As Leon ponders, Ross Weiss watches him and asks what he's daydreaming about. She then suggests that they should head back. Leon, snapped out of his thoughts, quickly stands and nervously reassures her that it's nothing, thanking her for her words. He then invites her to go back together. Instead of slipping her heels back on, Ross Weiss subtly slides toward Leon. Leon, noticing her movement, asks with some confusion what she is doing now. With a smirking smile, Ross Weiss replies that since Leon wants to thank her, he should help her put on her shoes. Leon, staring at her with a long, resigned expression, contemplates her request, clearly unsure but also a little exasperated. The story is becoming more touching with each chapter, as their bond grows stronger and stronger. However, a thought crossed my mind: should I stop recapping this manhwa?